Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. And it is great to have each and every one of you joining me live this evening. And Alex and I are going to be talking about property tax relief from legislation that Angela Moore is introducing. And I'm going to bring Alex in right now so we can begin the discussion. And let me do that right now. Hey, Al.
Hey, Larry. What's up, brother?
Man, I got you clicked in here. We got started a little late because we was chatting and the clock was a rolling and
Weren't even watching the time.
wasn't even watching the clicker. You know, that's how that goes, right?
And I forgot. I got notes in the printer that I need to grab. Didn't even remember to grab those. I'll be right back.
You go get those. We're good. So, but yeah, this is going to be an interesting show this evening. This is actually something that Al and I have been looking about, talking about, discussing for the last 2 weeks. So this is actually something. Al, was it 3 weeks ago we knew about this legislation was coming down the pike, and we were just waiting for things to happen and such and everything.
Something
and then,
like that.
yeah, and then and I know some people were actually wondering about. They were saying, well, it's not a bill yet, and it's just a draft. Well, local legislation works differently than general legislation. So the local legislation, it first has to be ran as an ad in your local paper. And then after it's run as an ad, then they go present it at their local their caucus meeting at the legislature, get signature for the majority of the delegation, and then it gets put into the hopper. So it's a little different than if you're just going to introduce a general bill, because it doesn't have to go through the same rigor as most bills. But this legislation does have an additional hurdle it has to do. It does have to get 2/3 of the vote of each house to be able to move to the calendar, because it is a piece of legislation that it will impact the Constitution as far as taxation. So it does have to have the 2/3 of each body to move it on. But local legislation usually does not does not have a lot of opposition. And I think especially a piece of legislation like this, I don't see getting a lot of opposition, because there are general bills that have been introduced in the General Assembly that would do this same thing statewide. So I think it's something they want to do.
Plus, we'll get into the details, but I would hope there's no opposition to this, because there's no downside to this.
None whatsoever.
We'll get into it. And it's rare that anyone will ever hear me say that, but there's no actual downside to this.
This is one of those rare pieces of legislation. If we pass it, we'll get into it. But if the worst thing happens, that's what the people in the county wanted in the first place. Right. And if the thing that could be the good thing that happens, it's also something that the people in the county wanted to happen. So it's a win-win. Now, let me go ahead and do something. Let me go ahead and say hi to folks that have joined me real quick. And then that way, me and you and I'll get on with what's at hand. So Miss Vuko Ruko, welcome to the show. Russo. Charlotte Gellert, welcome. Marie Withers, Danny Ramey, Cheryl Moulton, thanks for joining us. Carolyn Kentoke, William Campbell, sorry if I butchered your name, Carolyn. James Corbett, Cheryl Garcia, Sandy Parker, Clayton Orwig, Pamela Lowry, George Kilichek. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And it is glad to have all you guys join us tonight. And I think this is going to be a little bit of a robust conversation and an interesting conversation, because you're right, Al. It's very rare we talk about a piece of legislation that might not have a downside.
So what was it? A couple of weeks ago, last week maybe? When were we on here talking about the
2 weeks? It was 2 weeks ago. So we knew it a week before that.
We knew it before that.
So it was 3 weeks ago.
We were here talking about that legislation, which really should have, it really should have excited me, that last piece of legislation. because I think it, and you know, I think maybe the sales tax is what we're talking is what I'm referring to, and that really should have got me pumped up and excited, and because I think that's a step in the right direction. But the legislation was just it just wasn't it, right? It was, yeah, nice in theory, but this isn't how we go about this. Um,
Too much of that legislation had too many of those fees and mystery money that was never
yeah,
going to come to
yeah.
fruition. You know what I mean? There was a lot of
This,
mystery. It was a lot of mystery money.
yeah, this has none of that.
No,
None of this. This is just, I mean, this is, in my opinion, good legislation. And there's even if it doesn't pan out, there's no downside. There's no negative to this. Anyway, go ahead. Let's introduce the bill. Tell everyone what the bill is.
so the legislation is it's a local piece of legislation. It doesn't have a bill number yet. It just has a draft number. And so, from my understanding, the bill's ad has ran. So I think this Tuesday or Wednesday, I was told they're going to have their local caucus meeting, and at that point is when somebody's going to she'll get her signatures, and then she'll drop it in the hopper for it to go to a committee and come and be voted on committee, and then to be voted on by the full body to put on the consent calendar. Now, the caveat with this is because the legislation does what it does, it's going to require 2/3, which the majority of these local legislations get 90 some percent. So it should not be an issue, right? Especially this legislation when you already have Senate Bill 14, excuse me, Senate Bill 410, Senate Bill 408, and House Bill 102 do similar things.
Right.
So, so they've already got some legislation that would be statewide doing these things. And actually, the state has looked at this, Al, and they want to eliminate these abatements for these data centers because I'm going to throw some numbers out here. It is estimated by the end of this fiscal year, $2.5 billion in abatements will be given to data centers. By the end of 2027, if it still continues this trend it is right now, over $3 billion to given to data centers in abatements. And Al, I'll let you talk about just how bad that is because what these data centers do to a community.
Excuse me, sorry. Data centers are leeches. You know, I'm a capitalist. I believe in the free market. But I also believe the industry should be beneficial to the communities they are in. Data centers are not beneficial to the communities they are in. They are leeches on the communities they are in. They drain resources. They increase the price of resources for residents. They are noise polluters. Ask anyone that lives near a data center, and they'll let you know about the constant humming and vibrations that they feel. These are not businesses that are beneficial to a community, which is why I have no problem with the community getting as much out of these leeches as they possibly can.
No, I agree, and not only that, we get to get something that everybody's been asking for: property tax relief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead and explain the bill for folks.
So what the bill would do is, right now you've got these abatements that have been agreed to, and these sweetheart deals about not paying any property taxes, and the way they do that is through the development authorities will issue bonds, and these entities, just like we had with the biolab, we found out that the biolab was actually it was indeeded in the development authority's name, and that's how the biolab wasn't paying taxes, because they were just leasing the property from the development authority. Well, the same kind of thing happens with this. Even though the authorities aren't paying any of the bonds, the entities are actually paying all of it. It's just trickery and paperwork not to pay taxes. That's all it is. So what this legislation does is it eliminates those abatements, and it has them starting to pay taxes on, where they were given the free ride. And this is the thing about it. I would say it's uncertain what the true amount of those taxes are going to be because it's uncharted territory. So we've got some estimates. I think the easiest way to look at it is what the city of Covington believes they're going to get over the next 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
So Amazon has got a data center that they're doing there, and it is expected to bring in $500 million in tax revenue for Newton County over the next 16 years. And of that, the breakdown goes to the city of Covington getting $99.5 million over 16 years for things they call pilot fees, which are in lieu of property tax. And then $215 million for what they call franchise fees. And they propose using all that money to pay for the property taxes of the residents that live within the city limits.
Yeah, that works out to $19.6 million a year that the city of Covington estimate that they'll be bringing in. And I don't know if they're doing it the same way this legislation does, but this legislation will mandate that this revenue in Rockdale be used for homestead exemption. It will not be allowed to go into the general fund. It will have to be used for a homestead exemption.
The Covington legislation does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And that's what this Rockdale legislation does. And I like where it says, if you collect enough money this year to cover this year's, the remaining money that you continue to collect rolls over to the following year and just keeps rolling over, rolling over, and rolling over. Now, I had a conversation. I wanted to know, well, what could this possibly look like? And I was told that one data center could possibly generate enough money in Rockdale County for 2 to 2.5 years of taxes accumulated. So let's just say if it did 2 years and a data center only stayed open for 6 years and we collected taxes for 6 years, that would be enough taxes accumulated money to pay your taxes for 12 years.
For 12 years. Yeah. Let's talk about how they do it. And this is why, folks, this is why it's difficult to come up with an actual number to give you. We can't say, oh, it's going to raise X number of dollars in revenue. They base it on a base year, what are we calling it? A base year. What's the word I'm looking for, Larry? I can't even remember. They'll go in, I'm assuming the county does this. I haven't read it in the legislation, but they'll go in, they'll calculate, they'll base year assessment. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry. They'll do a base year assessment for the first year, which will be, according to the legislation, will be for 2027. Yes. Will be their first
operating year. Yes.
That will be their base year assessment. After that base year, an assessment will be performed each year after that. And the assessment, I guess, Larry, it looks at land value, the building value, equipment, and let's not forget, these data centers have a lot of equipment, generators and servers and everything. They go in each year and assess that, and the surplus or the excess over the base year assessment is the money that will be set aside for homestead property tax relief. Yeah, that sounds, to me, it does sound a little bit, not complicated, but this is why we're not able to say a dollar figure that this is going to be worth. This is why we can only look at similar situations located nearby. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, even if it generates zero, we're not losing anything. It's not like if it generates zero, we suddenly owe them money. That's not the case. If it generates zero, which is not, it's going to generate money for sure. But even if it's zero, we lose nothing. Anything above zero is a net positive for homeowners in Rockdale County.
Yeah, and the legislation clearly states you have to have a homestead for it to pay your taxes, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's just like the host. Except you ain't got to pay the money. Somebody
Yeah.
else is going to pay the money.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you will have to apply. According to the legislation, you'll have to apply for this new homestead one time, but once you have it, you're good to go. I don't know that it will tie to our existing homesteads. I guess that's for the politicians to figure out.
That'll be something they iron out. I got a feeling it's gonna. If you've got a homestead, you're not gonna have to reapply.
Right.
I think the applying refers to anyone with a new homestead or whatever. If you've got a homestead, that's going to carry.
Yeah, I
but
would think
but
so.
Alex, I mean, let's just talk about it. Worst case scenario is we don't collect any money.
Mhm.
No harm, no foul. We collect money. They pay our taxes. Another situation, they decide the heck with this. We're going to move out of Rockdale County. I don't know
Hallelujah.
anybody in Rockdale County that wanted it here anyway. Right?
Hallelujah.
So,
Yeah.
so those of you who don't want them here, you win that battle because
Mhm.
they tuck tail and run away.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to run
here's
away.
The thing. And here's the thing, because without this legislation, having them here is just a burden on Rockdale County.
Alex,
Without this legislation, there's no reason to have them here. There's no benefit to us. The jobs that they talk about, they're not real jobs. Most these massive
Unmanned.
structures, they're mostly unmanned. At the most I've seen is a data center in Texas that hires 50 people, and the majority of those jobs are remote. Not even people in the
area.
in that area, let alone the state that get those jobs. Yeah, these I'm sorry, these people are leeches. Also that they can harvest every private detail of our lives and then share it, wherever they choose. Yeah, these are not benefits to a community, and why these development authorities are moving forward with a lot of these plans is beyond me. I said to you, Larry, I think they're just seeing a fad and they're following a trend, and they're following that trend without really knowing what they're risking for their communities, is what I think.
Alex, I'm going to tell you, I think it goes even deeper than that. These development authorities are nothing more than somebody like, well, no, I wouldn't even say if it throwed me or you on it, it would be okay because we do our research and we study things, right? But they just throw random people on these damn authorities and they make these decisions. I'm going to tell you something. You've got this authority in Rockdale County right now considering giving an existing apartment complex like some sort of $100 million tax abatement that it already exists so that they can remodel. Alex,
right?
You're going to give where's my abatement?
Right.
I want to paint my deck on my house, so I want an abatement.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to start handing out abatements for remodeling, why should I have to assume someone's developer friend get the abatement and not a homeowner?
Well, this is the thing about it. It's not like it's a new business coming here. It's a business already here. It's an apartment complex already here, and they're already collecting taxes from them. So you give them this abatement, you're actually taking additional monies off the tax roll. That's crazy, especially when we are in such a volatile situation that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen, property tax or income state-wise.
At a time when rents have been at a record high for 5 years, this apartment complex wants me to believe that they're struggling so badly that they need an abatement to offset the cost of remodeling their apartment homes.
No, they've been raking money in hand over foot. You and I both know that. I don't even want to hear that, right? So I mean, and I know this for a fact because I sat on a board that received a phone call last week asking what we thought about the idea. I'm going to tell you what my exact words were. My exact words were not just no, people. My exact words were, oh, hell no. is
Right.
exactly what I said.
I mean,
I said, oh,
did I,
hell no.
and what was my response when you told me?
You said, oh, hell
Oh,
no.
hell no.
Or you said, hell no. Because look, guys, let me tell you something, right? Is you can't, how could any elected official in this county say, we thought it was a good idea to give that apartment complex over there free taxes when we're going to foreclose on Susie Ledbetter down here that's 80 years old because she can't pay her tax bill. I mean,
Right.
what kind of optic is that, folks?
Right. Clayton says, I'd like some assurance that the county's budget won't balloon as a reaction. To this legislation, it wouldn't be, I don't believe it would, because
wouldn't blow.
This money would have to be by law. It would have to be earmarked for homestead exemption.
They're not going to get any additional money.
Right.
It's just replacement money.
There will be none of this putting it in the same account as, well, everything else.
No. The legislation clearly states it just pays for the taxes for that year, right? And then any monies that are left over are rolled over to take care of the next year's taxes and the following year's taxes, and so on and so on. So that you can only draw enough money out of there to actually, and look, with the legislation that's coming down the pike, look, guys, right now in Rockdale County, your property taxes, if you own a home, can only be raised 2.7% in 2026.
Right.
Actually, because you've got a freeze.
Let me read specifically from the bill we have here. Positive excess. If the current year collections exceed the base year, the full value of this excess amount is segregated from other county tax proceeds. These funds are maintained specifically to offset the cost of the homestead exemption in the next subsequent tax year. And it even says there the full value. There's no gray area where they get to keep a few percent or anything like that.
Yeah. So this is solid legislation. It really is. And you got to remember, guys, the days of in Rockdale County, the days of if you or your homestead property going up 25, 30%, that's over. That does not exist anymore in Rockdale County because of 581. I mean, I know that's hard to realize, but that's true. If you are a homestead property owner in this county right now, the most that your property can increase is the rate of inflation. The 2026 rate of inflation was set at 2.7%. So if this coming year, no matter what the millage rate is set at, if you are a homestead property owner, your floating homestead is going to be set to where you only get a 2.7% increase. That's the law, and that's what will happen. Now, businesses and commercial properties, theirs may raise more, but you as a homestead property owner, your taxes cannot be raised any more than 2.7%. That's it. And it could even be lower in the future, depending on what the rate of inflation is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, so you got to remember, guys, Rockdale County, you set in a better situation than a lot of your neighbors, because remember, 71% of Board of Educations opted out of 581. 71% opted out. 33% of counties and municipalities opted out. Rockdale County is one of the few counties in the state of Georgia that 100% stayed in 581. So just saying.
Right. And let's not forget this revenue.
No, somebody said something. I want to correct you. Sandy, they cannot raise your property taxes any more than 2.7% by playing with the millage rate. That's what people have got to understand, is that's what the floating homestead does. If, let's just say, we would raise the millage rate and we were going to, and I said this before, it's going to be a shift. Businesses are going to get higher property tax. They're going to get a tax increase. But you as a homeowner cannot be increased any more than 2.7%, because the homestead will go up to match and make sure you don't. That was what the 581 was all about, and it called the floating homestead. That homestead floats to make sure you don't pay any more than the rate of inflation.
Right. So here's a question. I think it ties in, I think, to what
And
Otis is
Angela came
asking.
on here and said something. I want to go back and
We
Angela
continue.
Moore.
Yes, she did.
I hope
She said-
everyone sees the benefit of the bill, and Angela, we are very proud of you for introducing this legislation. I first of all want to thank you as a Rockdale City County resident for your looking ahead and seeing the possibility to do this. And I want to thank you for introducing this legislation.
Yeah. We continue to collect our current host money, right?
Yes.
Which provides tax relief, which pays us back effectively. Host is us paying into a system at the end of the year.
We would end up getting a tax
reluctantly
break
give it
there,
back to
Alex.
us. Any revenue from this will be in addition to host, which will create even more excess revenue that will have to be used for tax relief in subsequent years. I can't find a downside to this. I just can't.
I
One
think
of the rare occasions where, as we have it right now, one of the rare occasions where it's actually decent legislation.
I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to encourage you guys. Angela, again, thank you for what you've done. But I'm going to encourage everybody to reach out to Angela's colleagues,
Yeah,
and ask them to make sure they sign on to this legislation with Angela. Yeah, Angela lives in DeKalb, and Angela, I know you've also introduced that legislation in DeKalb, and we appreciate, I'm sure, the DeKalb County. But I would love for anybody that's on this show to also reach out to Angela's colleagues, Representative Rhonda Taylor and Representative Doreen Carter and Senator Tanya Anderson, and let them know that you demand that they sign on to this legislation. Not that you're asked, but you demand that they sign on to this legislation, because there's no reason not to.
Yeah, there's no bill number yet. Can we give people this this LC number?
You can give them that LC number, but there'll still be a bill number after she drops in the hopper. We'll be able to put that out next week. But these legislators know what it is because they've all been made aware of it.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they would co-sponsor it before the bill drops. Anyone that does want to reach out, over the next couple of days to our local delegation.
Well, Alex, a majority of the delegation has to sign the bill before it can be dropped. We all know. So Angela needs one more signature.
Then reference LC 473909. LC 473909 in your emails in the subject line. Then they'll know
LC 47.
Yeah, LC 473909.
3909.
Correct.
There we go.
Yeah, reference that in the subject line of your emails.
Yeah, send that, because guys, I'm telling you, this is a game changer for Rockdale County. This would be because look, I was talking to Angela the other day. There are no data centers slated for or approved in DeKalb County right now, but Rockdale County, you have two data centers being built right now. Yep. 2 data centers. So this legislation will immediately impact you. First of all, it gets through there. It gets signed by the governor in July, and then when that happens, it gets put on the ballot in November for you to vote on.
Clayton,
who would oppose this?
The data centers.
Well, the data centers. Well, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not certain. For some unknown reason, some of Angela's colleagues wouldn't oppose it for some ungodly reason. I mean, I don't
Mm.
know. You know what I mean?
Or they could share the credit and work for the community. They could possibly do that. We'll have to say this is where your emails come in key to this, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Hey, I see Cheryl Garcia. Thank you, Representative Moore. And Angela says reference the 2026 Rockdale homestead tax legislation. There you go. So reference that, the 2026 Rockdale homestead tax legislation.
Mhm.
Just weird things happen sometimes, right? And you need to let your legislators know, I support this legislation, right? I support this legislation. And
Mhm.
they need to know. And I'm gonna tell you what, I mean, I personally don't have to reach out to my legislator. Do you know why I don't have to reach out to my legislator?
Because she's watching the show.
Because she's watching the show right now.
Mhm.
Right, Angela Moore represents me. You know what I
Right.
mean? I live in her district, and I've said this many a times. I'm proud to live in Angela's district,
Right.
right? So, Angela, again, thank you very much for what you do. And I do want to throw out also, Angela told me that her collard green legislation she thinks is going to get passed this year too. So you can't go wrong when you got data centers and collard greens working
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
You
Now
know what I mean?
Charlotte says development authorities might oppose this.
You know, but you know what?
The unelected I looked at our development authority board members, and it doesn't really say much about them. Doesn't say where they live. It implies that the majority of them run businesses outside of Rockdale. It doesn't say a lot about them individually.
I'm going to tell you something, Alex. After the nonsense that I heard this week, right?
Mhm.
And then after my research, that I see what these development authorities have given away over the state of Georgia,
Mhm.
2.5 billion to be 3 billion by 2027. I have made a decision. I'm going to start going to these CREDC and these authority meetings, because somebody that actually has the guts to stand up to these clowns needs to go to these meetings and say, stop giving away the farm,
Mhm.
right? There was no need to do this nonsense, right?
Right.
And I'm going to go to them because I'm going to be a voice for everybody, right? Because this kind of giving things away has to stop, right? I'm going to go to these meetings and I'm going to challenge this nonsense. And then I'm going to come here on this show and talk to you guys about what I actually think. I would love to see the legislature introduce some legislation to put a moratorium on them of development authorities for the next 3 years, because I think we need to put them out of business for a little bit so that they quit doing harm to our communities.
Well, I mean, these data centers do not benefit communities. Like I said, they appear to be following the fad without truly understanding what this fad means to a community. And in particular, the people that live close to these data centers. I mean, they're the ones who are harmed the most. To the point where these things ruin, like destroy people's mental health. Just living near them with the constant hum, the constant drone, the ground vibrations that they feel. Not to mention the groundwater pollution, the problems with water supply for nearby residents. These are leeches on communities, and I don't know how these development authorities think that this is even remotely a good idea.
Well, I agree, and Angela, I know what she wants everybody to make sure they know, that at the end of the day, once they get this thing passed up there, and they will, I've got confidence, it's going to be up to you, the voters, to approve it, because it goes on the ballot for you to say, yes, I want the data center to pay all my taxes. And that's exactly what basically this legislation says, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what I like about this is at the end of the day, you get the opportunity to tell the development authority, this is what we want, no matter what you 4 or 5 people think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember, they're not even elected officials.
Yeah, no, these are, and here's, I'm not alleging this happens. I'm just throwing it out there. If I were to do some digging on, and I'm not saying Rockdale County, I'm saying in general, if I were to do some digging on development authorities across the country, I wonder how many of those board members I would find that ended up with six-figure jobs at Google or Meta or OpenAI or places like that. Here's the thing, though. Even if I wanted to do that digging, I couldn't. Do you know why? Because all those data center agreements are shrouded under NDAs.
Yep.
You can't get the information even if you wanted to.
And that does that concern? NDA. Does that not concern you, Alex? When when taxpayers' dollars are being negotiated with NDAs?
Yeah, it really does bother me.
I mean, and it's not a little bit of taxpayers' dollars, right? We're talking about in these data center cases, billions of taxpayers' dollars.
Yes.
So let's get real. Yeah. It's not billions a little bit of money. So when we look at these development authorities, it is billions of dollars across the state of Georgia that they are negotiating away, right? Billions of dollars that this revenue could have been coming in and being paid by business instead of property tax. Because you remember, when they give these property tax abatements to these corporations now, who picks up the tab? Homeowners.
Homeowners. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, we don't just pick up the tab, we subsidize them completely.
We do.
Because any future tax increases are just on homeowners. They escape those as well. They escape those. By the way, Angela asked if we could read the wording of the referendum. Absolutely. Shall the act be approved, which provides a homestead exemption from Rockdale County ad valorem taxes for county purposes of up to 100% as determined from the proceeds generated from the collection of certain ad valorem property taxes for county purposes on data centers located in Rockdale County? The responses are yes or no. Yeah. That's it. Yes or no. There's I mean, the paragraph is legalese, obviously. It should say, can we take data centers tax money? Yes or no. But,
can we take data centers
for property tax relief?
Can we take data centers tax dollars and pay 100% of your property taxes? That should be that's what it's saying. That's actually what it's saying.
That's what it's saying, but in legalese. But yeah, yes or no. That's it. There's no multiple choice options here. It's not like some ballot measures we've seen where it's 16 questions with multiple choice options that nobody understands. This one's very simple. Do you want property tax relief? Yes or no?
Yeah, and we all do. We've all been asking for it, right? Mm-hmm. So with HB 581 last year, homestead property owners in Rockdale County are getting relief this year. But with Angela Moore's legislation, by 2028, you may get substantial relief.
Yep.
Substantial relief is what would happen with that legislation, and that's what we've got to look at, and that's what you've been asking for all along. And remember the other day, I said, don't worry too much about what the state does with all this stuff. It's 5 or 6 or 7 years out. There may be something coming that can give you relief in the foreseeable future. This kind of legislation is what can give you relief in the foreseeable future. And right, it'll bridge a gap. And that's what I'd said all along. This is actually a great stopgap legislation that it could, let's just say they don't do anything with the property tax. They don't do what they say they're going to do. Data center stays around for 10 years. This thing could collect enough taxes to pay your property taxes for 20 or 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine. Most people are fine and dandy with that. Right. But this is something that needs to happen for this county. And again, reach out to the other legislators, reach out to Doreen Carter, and reach out Rhonda Taylor, and reach out to Senator Tanya Anderson. Let them know to support the 2026 homestead local legislation, because this, in my opinion, is the most important legislation that has been introduced in Rockdale County in my lifetime. It actually has. That could be possible, and right, and like Anna said, and it will be a law. Like I said, this will be a law. It won't be a suggestion. It won't be a maybe or a might. It'll be the law. So, and Corliss Turner, this is an election year, and I do think Alex, I seen some things here the other day. I don't know if you saw it or not, but most of our legislators are actually facing opposition this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't want to be the person that didn't sign on to Angela Moore's bill.
Yeah, no, I would not want to miss being. I would not want to miss the opportunity to co-sponsor this
and be able to run my campaign that I sponsored this legislation and support it.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you know me. If I was running somebody's campaign and somebody didn't sign on to that, and they were the reason something like this didn't get through, I can guarantee you they wouldn't win election.
Yeah. Well, if I were running a campaign right now, I would view this as a excellent opportunity to sign on to a beneficial piece of legislation for the homeowners of Rockdale County.
And if I was running against one of these legislators that signed on to this and they passed this bill, I'd think about pulling my name off the ticket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to run against the person that got me no taxes. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Just saying. But guys, I'll tell you, this is, when I say game changer, it's truly a potential game changer for this county.
Actually, while we're talking about it, I don't mean to put you on a spot. What school board seats are up this go around?
Sandra Jackson Lett's seat is up, and Janie Jones' seat is up.
Sandra supported 581, right?
Sandra and Janie both supported 581.
Both supported 581. Okay.
Both the individuals that are.
Just remind people.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, right? I'm not going to say who didn't support it, but I'm going to tell you who did vote for it. I voted for it and fought hard for it.
Yeah, you did.
Justin Kinney voted for it, fought hard for it. Sandra Jackson, Lett, and Janie Jones, and they fought for it too.
Yep.
So you've got these
and
four board
and they
members.
both have do they both have challengers or just the one of them?
Sandra Jackson Lett is going to have a challenger. It'll be Mr. Jesus Lopez has indicated he plans on running against Sandra.
There you go.
Jackson
Sandra
Lett.
did support 581.
Not only supported it as the chair of the board.
As the chair of the board, yes.
She vigorously supported this, legislation. And Janie Jones supported it too. Janie just felt that we needed to have hearings so people could understand it. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you don't have, not one of the four people who voted for it they were very avid with their support for this legislation and stuff. And, like I said, that was a 4-3 vote.
The reason I mention it is elections are coming up, and it's important to remember the people that supported Rockdale homeowners, and both Sandra and Janie did. Sandra does have a challenger, and maybe that will affect your vote when you go and strike your ballot. Remember that Sandra did support 581.
Yeah, and not only that, I'm just going to be honest. Sandra and Janie have been instrumental in a lot of the changes that have been going on with the Rockdale County school system for the positive. And, and that's just,
Yeah. Janie's running unopposed at the moment. Nobody's declared. Okay.
Yes.
All right. She should be good.
She at the moment, but you have no idea, right?
Right. You never know. So again, just bear in mind the ones that supported 581. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, this is like interesting. I mean, Alec, for the whatchamacallit, the post 2 commission seat, there could be 5 or 6 people running in that seat. I mean, for that one board position, 5 or 6 people, and I know of there are 3 definite candidates right now and a couple of people threatening to run. Right. So and then I understand, and I'm going to say this out loud, it it is what it is. It's out in the community, really strong right now. Good friend of mine and yours, Clarence Cuthbert, is actually going to challenge Judge Nancy Beals for the Superior Court
That's right.
position. So, and you've got Justin running for the state court and is going to have a challenger. And then I have heard that possibly someone is considering challenging Judge McCray, who has never won an election, was appointed.
Right.
Okay. I understand that there is a possible challenger lurking in the wings to oppose Judge McCray. So that would be a very unusual thing in Rockdale County to have every judicial position that is up for election this year be contested. Never doesn't happen.
Yeah. So Clayton said, would this fuel, it's a good question actually, would this fuel more housing development in Rockdale if given the choice? So we already have a host exemption, which you could argue is the same incentive, right? Would people, is it better for somebody to buy a house in Rockdale or a neighboring county when Rockdale has a host exemption? This will be I guess will be in addition to that, obviously. So could it? I mean, I guess, but again, this is where our planning and zoning department have to be sensible about what they zone for and what they allow.
Well, and let me tell you what I have heard from the city last year when they asked the city about expansion and this and that last year. What I heard the city say was, we've about built out. There's nowhere to build anything. Right. I mean, just saying, right. So, and it is quite different than the host. And I'll tell you why. The host only offers this partial relief to county taxes. This would pay your city, county, and school board taxes.
Gotcha.
This would pay the whole thing. Right. And DeKalb has a host right now too, Charlotte. And I'm aware of that, but it doesn't pay it just pays the county portion. This thing would pay everything.
Yeah,
it would pay it.
So could could we see a rush of? I mean, I would argue that we've already seen a rush. We've seen Horton trying to move into Rockdale, but could it? Yeah, I mean, I suppose it could, but again, this is where planning and zoning have to be judicious about what they.
Well, and then remember something, right? You can't get a homestead the first year. You've got to wait and get one.
Right.
So it's not automatic, right? So you've got while they're building it, paying taxes, built, you got to apply for it, then get it. So there's going to be some tax on it initially. So it's not the initial windfall, it's later on. But yeah, it could be some more housing go on. But I'll tell you, it's not something, look guys, this is a temporary stopgap, right? I attended a meeting a few months ago, and there was a person from MIT that does this research and familiar with data centers. And they said data centers have a 10-year lifespan. And then the next thing will come on. And they compared it to back in the 70s when you had these buildings that were just full of these computer towers in them. And then the next thing you know, you had this thing called a desktop that sat on your desk that would, the information in it would take up 2 stories of a 10-story building at one time. So a similar kind of thing is going to happen within the next 10 years with these data centers and the thing that's going to store it and do whatever. Data centers have a lifespan. So you're going to have a limited lifespan. That's why I'm saying these things, if we get 10 years out of it, it collects money and you stockpile it and it pays taxes for the next 20, 25 years. It's a stopgap. Count your blessing. You got a win-win, right, Al?
Yeah, I believe so. All right, Larry, I'm going to have to jump off. I actually have another call at 9 p.m.
Okay.
But I'm going to hop out. You say goodbye to your audience and everything, but I appreciate you having me on. like I say, I do believe this is a good bit of legislation. I think if people contact the rest of our delegation and just remind them that this is a great opportunity in an election year to co-sponsor a good piece of legislation, I think that would be beneficial.
It would be. Thanks, Al, for joining me tonight. And I'm going to wrap up with everybody. And like I said, thanks for joining me tonight. And I think everybody knows. I mean, this is, like I said, Alex doesn't come on rarely and say a piece of legislation is no harm, no foul.
Right. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Larry. Good
Thanks,
night.
Al. Appreciate it, man. Good night. Yeah, guys, I'm really excited about what this potential legislation could do. Again, you guys need to reach out to those legislators, let them know to sign on to this bill because it's something we really, really need. And again, we thank Representative Moore for everything that she's done, her efforts in this, and I'm excited about it. And I'll tell you something else too. I don't think this is the only piece of legislation that our legislators are going to introduce this session that you as Rockdale County residents are going to be upset. I mean, I think you're going to be pleased with some more legislation that they're going to come out with. And as soon as we can talk about those additional pieces of the legislation, we will. But I think you're going to be pleased with some of the other things that are going to come out with. And it's going to be great. Yeah, I agree, Angela. It's a great piece of legislation, whether it's an election year or not. And we do, again, thank you for bringing it forward. But I want to just say thank you guys again for tuning in this evening. It was a great audience. Remember, share, like the show, tell people to come watch it, especially about this thing. Cheryl, I've not heard anything about Buc-ee's yet, but I'm hoping we're going to hear something about that by March or April. So we'll see what goes on with that. But I want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. Thank you for being the great audience you are. Don't forget, reach out, tell your legislators to support this legislation, and let's get at it, people. Let's go to work and make Rockdale County a better place. And again, thank you, Representative Moore, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Sunday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube on Speak Your Mind.